help us. Andrea Wise-Brown is a psychotherapist, also an expert in dealing with traumatic events like this. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're well, parents, right, of the children. We have to be their point of reference. We need to educate ourselves first. We need to become centered, and then we need to deliver the news to our children. We need to control the narrative. When you're talking to teenagers, then you can use things like mental illness, right? Devastation, things like that. You can kind of talk about trauma. You can explain those things to teenagers and they will be more understanding. So it's untreated mental illness. Those discussions you can have with older children. But when it comes to younger children, you want to use terms like good and bad, fear, love, in those terms.
How do you do that, though, without scaring a child?
Right.
Because church especially, that should be somewhere safe.
Right,
good.
That should be a safe place, but what we have to talk to our children about is we can't control everything in the world. So there are people out here, sociopaths, which is a term that we could talk to our teenagers about, but there are people out here who are not thinking as we are, right? But we can't control them, and we have to talk to our children about how we can't control those things. However, we can use certain things like powerful discussions. We can go back to spirituality. So what is it that you believe as a family system to kind of inspire kids and give them some hope for what's going on today?
So that's great around the dinner table or the breakfast table. But when they walk out the door, and I'm talking about teens now, and they've got social media. How do we guard, protect against that? Because sometimes there's so much misinformation or opinions. It's not facts.
Yes, and that's why I say get in front of it. So as soon as you educate yourself as a parent, then you educate your children. You control the narrative. So when they do go out and they are looking at social media, they can determine what's real and what's not. Right? And then we want to also give them a glimmer of hope. And that's where I'm talking about whatever their spirituality is, and then encourage them to move. We have to keep moving, right? We can also give them a little control with empathy. Teach them how to empathize, and we all are struggling. So we can kind of give them tools and empower them by saying, you empathize, maybe send a letter, send a card, but we want to make them feel good and let them know that we do have some power. They can control those things, but they can't control everything. We don't want to tell them too much.
Well, I like the word you used, tools.
Yes.
Giving them the tools to navigate through these situations.
Yes.
And maybe that is writing a letter or having empathy, those sorts of things. Because they have to find their ways, age appropriately, to deal with these as well.
Yes. And as a family, I think that is empowering, right? So you take the power that you have, and that is good. So what we want to do is we want to squeeze fear out. And you squeeze fear out with love, right? With empathy. And that's the difference. Sociopaths don't have empathy, but our children do. So that's what we want to do. And we don't want to have a whole bunch of all of our children running around who are so fearful, and then they become obsessed with the story. So we tell the story, empower them. We have to move forward. We have to. It's imperative.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I so appreciate it. Great tools.
Thank you, Heather.